it's tough to win especially when one of your max contract guys is doesn't want to be a part of the team. With that being said, we were lucky enough to get James Harden in that trade, who's dialed in and wants to be here and wants to win.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Players Platform for VVM Sports. I'm Mike Hill, joined by Philadelphia 76ers power forward, my man, George Niang, the minivan. We're going to talk about that nickname in just a little bit. But let's talk about this team right now. This is the Philadelphia 76ers team that's right up there in the mix in the Eastern Conference after years of talking about, will this finally be the year for the 76ers? Will this finally get it done? What gives you the confidence that this year will be that year that Philadelphia takes that next step?
I think we have a lot of continuity with our roster. We've had pretty much the same roster since training camp, so we've had an opportunity to build day in and day out with the same guys, and I think that's huge. Whether that's building chemistry, that's building trust over the course of the year. I'm confident moving forward that we have guys in our locker room that are just focused on winning. There's no personal accolades that outweigh the team, and that's huge, especially in professional sports. I think this is the most locked-in team that I've been in, whether it's lifting after games or getting in on off days and getting extra work in. This team is locked in on continuously growing on an upward trend.
I don't want to put any words in your mouth, but you brought it up like this seems like more of a team. I pick up on certain things like that. So there are people that were in the locker room last year, players in the locker room last year, and maybe the years prior to that were about themselves. You feel like you've gotten rid of some of those players?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for us is that we have all guys that want to be here. I mean, there's no secret to the matter of fact that last year we had, Ben didn't want to be here, and he made that known. And I voiced it plenty of times, I feel like. And with that being said, it's tough to win especially when one of your max contract guys is doesn't want to be a part of the team. With that being said, we were lucky enough to get James Harden in that trade, who's dialed in and wants to be here and wants to win. And if you've watched him this season, I mean, to literally go from someone that has averaged 30 points in his career to being someone that can get to 15 plus assists on any given night. I think he averages like 11 assists or 10 assists. It's remarkable the way he's kind of transitioned his game to just make the team that much better. For me, it's been a joy to play alongside with him and just to learn from him, his competitive nature and what it takes to be great day in and day out. Like I said, I'm super thankful this year that we have guys that, want to be in this locker room and want to continue to push forward and see the team be great.
And you're a good player in your own right, but what's it mean to you? Like, not just yourself, but the other players, when you see like guys like James Harden, or even Joel Embiid, who's having an MVP type season, kind of make those sacrifices, pull back and not make it about them, their individual stats themselves, and care more about the team. These superstar players who get all of the accolades and all of the attention, but once again, put everything that they can back into the team to make everybody great.
Yeah, that's huge. When you have your two best guys doing stuff like that, it makes you look yourself in the mirror and be like, well, if these guys are sacrificing to make the team better, what do I need to sacrifice? I should never think about myself over the team ever if the two best players are doing that. So when you have a culture like that, that's huge moving forward. You just have people that are all dialed in, and every single one of their actions day in and day out is, how can I get the team better? And it starts from the top. And those guys do a great job of doing that. They do a great job of holding us accountable. But I think the best thing is they also let others, talk to them, whether, if they're, slacking or, messing up on an assignment, other people can tell them, and they're actually willing to be coached. And that's huge, especially in professional sports.
How much pressure is on you guys this year, man? Let's just keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 1,000 a buck right now. There's always pressure playing in Philadelphia. The fans are going to let you hear about it night in and night out. You can go on a 10-game winning streak and then lose 2 in a row, and it's almost like, you guys suck. You guys are terrible. This year, with everything that you're doing, you're talking about the Bostons of the world having a good season, Milwaukee having another good season. It's the top 3. How much pressure right now is on you guys to get it done this year with what you're talking about?
At the end of the day, I think, the best thing about us right now is I'd say maybe like last year, you kind of like feel that, you make a big blockbuster trade at the trade deadline, and they're like, all right, this is the time, you make it happen. But I think the best thing about being in Philadelphia is that you know that they care. So you can either look at it as it's pressure, or you can look at it as like, I got to commit to being the best me, every single day. And that's kind of how I look at it from a team aspect. I'm sure it looks like, there is pressure, but I think for us is we're enjoying the fact that we're continuously getting better and finding things out about ourselves of what we need to continue to do to grow and be better. We've had countless games against top teams in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference where, we've won and then we've lost, but I think, we've come out learning like, all right, these are the ways we can attack these different teams and be successful. What people have to understand is in the playoffs is you got to give yourself a fighting chance. Look at Milwaukee a couple of years ago. They're literally 2 inches with KD's foot away from going home and not winning a championship. So if you can go in and be committed and be focused and be as a team and have the least amount of distractions, you're giving yourself a fighting chance. And I think we've learned that, moving forward, especially after last year, that you just want to come in, be healthy, and minimize distractions and be together to give yourself a fighting chance. Because in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a matter of inches. KD's foot now being behind that line could have just derailed that whole situation. You guys with Toronto, I know you won there with Philadelphia years ago with Toronto and that shot by Kawhi. All those types of things that happen in the playoffs. So you got to give yourselves a fighting chance and not leave any room for any error. But talking about the pressure, like just the fact that you're in Philadelphia right now with the teams and the success that you saw the Eagles going to the Super Bowl, you saw the Philadelphia Phillies going to the World Series. Now it's like, are fans telling you guys, hey, you're up next?
Yeah, like you better get it or we'll chase you guys out of town. No. Philly's real supportive, but obviously when you're not, winning or getting to that level, they're going to be frustrated, which I completely understand. So at the end of the day, you hear, fans with their opinions and what they expect. And at the end of the day, I can appreciate it. I love it because it means they actually care. And but I think for the best thing for everybody's well-being is control the controllables. And like I was talking about before, yes, it may seem like a lot of pressure, but when you start thinking like it's pressure, you're going to go out there and not play like yourself. So I think all of us realize that and try to stay away from feeling that pressure, because then you're not going to be able to be you. All I can control is my attitude, my effort, and how I treat other people. And I know it sounds cliche, and that's definitely is not the Philadelphia motto. Like, I'm going to give my best. It's no, we want you to win.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get out there and we're going to turn a lot of heads, when we get into the playoffs.
I love Philly fans, man. I'm from New York, and this is grimy, gritty type, win at all costs, whatnot. They can be a little boisterous. I think sometimes they can be a little arrogant. That's just me saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that. But at the same time, like when you talk about booing Santa Claus and all that type of stuff, how can you boo Beyonce? They booed Beyonce and Destiny's Child, bro. You cannot do that. I know Stanley wore a Laker jersey, but you cannot do that no matter what. You're just like sacrilegious right there. But when you're talking about the fans, man, they can also be really funny. So tell me, like, the funniest thing you heard out of the crowd, either directed to you or a teammate, or the most, like, almost scary thing that you heard from a Philadelphia fan.
It was actually one of the first preseason games that I got here. It was my first preseason game at home. I don't know if it was Toronto or Atlanta. I forget who it was, but I had a chance to, shoot the ball, and I pump fake past it and got tipped out of bounds in the other team's ball. And some guy in, street clothes with his sunglasses on and was like, yo, what the heck? We brought you here to shoot the ball, so shoot the damn ball. And I usually I don't even engage with like fans, but it was a preseason game. There weren't many people in there. And I was like, all right, I got you. And then in my head, I'm like, why did I even just respond? But then I'm like, this is Philadelphia. Like, they're not going to hold back. They're going to tell you how you feel. But then you have like the great ones, like, there's plenty of celebrities, sitting courtside, whether it's Meek Mill, Michael Blackston, all of the Eagles guys that show love. So that's great to have that support in a sports town. But even a couple games, I've seen there's a guy that has like written in marker on his chest that says like bang bang Niang, because that's what our announcer Kate Scott says every time that I hit a three. So as much as people want to sit and, say that Philly fans are critical, if you win here, they'll love you forever. So that's what keeps me going, is like, if I can get a championship or be a part of a championship in Philadelphia, I might be on Broad Street for 4 weeks straight.
Oh yeah, you definitely be legendary status because you're definitely helping them get there, man. And you got a guy who I thought probably should have won the MVP a couple of years ago, but I definitely think he is the front runner to win the MVP this year. I'm talking about Joel Embiid. Tell me the reason why, and I'm pretty sure it's not a biased opinion because I think a lot of people feel this way. Why should he be the most valuable player outside of stats this year? What are you seeing that other people don't see that makes him the most valuable player?
Yeah, I mean, I just think about how dominant he is. I mean, when you have a guy out there that literally forces a whole defense to stay in the paint, and continue, I mean, you said not to bring up stats, but can continue to average 30 plus points. Like, come on. I mean, we're talking about, James Harden won MVP and he was averaging 30 plus points. Michael Jordan, you look at his career average, it's 30 points, and he's won multiple MVPs. You just look at how dominant someone is in the game, and to literally have every defense throw everything at you, whether it's double teams, triple teams, the whole team, and you're still able to produce like that at that size as a center. I mean, I think that speaks for itself. I don't want to harp too much on it because then it feels like we're begging, and I feel like you kind of get scrutinized for that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I know Joel's worth. He's my MVP. It's about damn time other people start realizing.
Yeah, and what he does on the defensive end as well. I mean, I don't think a lot of people give enough credit for what he does on both ends of the court, taking nothing away from Nikola Jokic, who's had an outstanding season once again. But people have even brought up race. That's been a big issue among media members now, back and forth, as a player. And just be real, you can answer the way you want to, but do you believe that because a lot of the media members who are voting for these MVP, that is part of the conversation, or maybe not at all? What do you feel?
I don't like to think, that negatively. Obviously, I know Kendrick Perkins, had brought that up. I like to see the good in everybody, and I like to think that, sports is something, whether if it's color, race, what people look like, it's the commonality of the game that we all love and appreciate, and that the people that are voting on this award take that into account and don't take race. They take the love and the actuality of the game into this award. So that thought doesn't even come through my mind. Obviously, people have opinions, and Nikola Jokic is a great player. There's nobody that's saying that he doesn't deserve the MVP, but I know Joel Embiid also deserves an MVP. So I'll leave it at that. I know there's the purity, of the game with those voters, and they get a vote and they have the last choice. And, I hope they make the right choice and give Joel the MVP.
Well, hopefully he wins the MVP this year. A lot of people feel like he should. Of course, you talked about James Harden and the MVP award he won back in the day as well. And now he's on your team, making some sacrifices, doing some great things. Do you remember James Harden without the beard? Just by the way, just off. I don't remember James. I can't remember what he looks like without the beard. Can you remember?
I remember like small stints in like Arizona State and then OKC a little bit, but clearly I remember him in Houston with the beard. So I can't say that I don't remember him. Yeah. So to answer your question, no, I don't.
What's that like a person in person? You see, you ever just like when like, man, can you eat soup with that? I'm like, you ever tell him about the care of it? What is that like?
I don't know. It's his stick though. Like it makes him him, and I think it's unique because nobody else in the league really has that, image, like he has, the beard is him. They call him the beard.
Yeah.
And he's had a legacy with that name. He's had a lot of success on and off the court, with his branding, what he does off the court, and then with, who he is on the court. And it just makes him him. I don't think it's ever brought up. I think he's probably heard every single joke in the book about it. So he just kind of laughs it off, and it just makes him him. I mean, people, have their thoughts about James, but to be honest with you, after playing alongside him for a year and a half now, probably one of the, greatest guys, to be around. just with how unselfish he is, especially, with his teammates, whether, it's giving off the court or, changing his game so that everybody can get shots around him and making the right play while he's on the court. I mean, this guy was a scoring champ, and he's sacrificing that to make other people better. I think it just speaks volumes to him and what's important to him, and that's winning.
Yeah, and hopefully doing it in the playoffs. A lot of people talk about and they harp on, they'll say the Sixers probably won't do it again this year. This is what a lot of people I'm hearing. I'm pretty sure you hear the same things because, okay, it's one thing to do in the regular season. Can James Harden do it in the postseason? And that's been a knock on him in the postseason about him showing up or not showing up in the postseason. What tells you that this year will be different and he's going to be able to shut some of those critics up?
I mean, you think about everything that's happened, COVID. I mean, he was injured. He was playing on one leg in Brooklyn. He gets traded here in the midst of that. Didn't have much time to work with us. I'm not sitting here making excuses, but it's easy for people to sit on the couch and critique one of the greatest to ever play the game. With that being said, what I think is the best thing about James is that through all the criticism, through all the failures, through all the successes, is that guy comes in every day and he works. And I know one thing in life that equals success or is a recipe to success are people that continue to keep their head down and continue to work. And he's a tireless worker. Like I said, whether if it's lifting after games, lifting before games, getting work in on off days, he's constantly trying to perfect his craft. And I believe in that. And I'm a firm believer in someone that's going to continue to perfect his craft. And James continues to do that day in and day out. And I've seen it with my own two eyes. So people that don't see that can easily say, that this or that. But I'm a firm believer and I trust in the work that he's put in. And I can't wait to see what it leads to this year in the playoffs.
So in other words, he's no Ben Simmons. Is that what you're trying to like?
Oh man, Mike, you are great. You are great. One of them is playing and one of them is not. So
what did you do when you heard the news that he's out for the season? That he's not, what did you hear? What did you think? Did you
I mean, I haven't really paid much attention to Brooklyn considering, that we have our own fight to figure out. And we've played them a couple of times with their new team and with their old team. And I think the biggest thing is you just have to focus on yourself. What he has going on is what he has going on. Obviously, I'm thankful that, we're on the up and up and we're working with the guys that we have. But if it is an injury, that's unfortunate because, sports do take a grueling toll on your body. And I hope that he can get healthy. But at the end of the day, like, it is what it is,
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk more positive, man. I want to talk more about you because, like you said, that not just the fans are telling you to shoot the ball more. Like James Harden has even encouraged you to shoot the ball a little bit more. Percent 3-point shooter. You are a knockdown shooter. I mean, you can score. You can do your thing, man. How do you envision yourself? Do you ever allow yourself to dream, so to speak? We know that Joel Embiid is going to get his. We know that James Harden is going to do his thing. We know Tobias Harris is going to step up here and there, whatever. How do you envision yourself? Do you ever allow yourself to dream that, you're in the NBA finals in these, one or two of these games and in these critical games in the finals that George Niang is the one that kind of carries Philadelphia 76ers over the top? Do you ever envision yourself doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think you have to dream like that, right? You have to have goals and expectations for you to be the best. That saying where, what is it? You shoot for the stars, you land on the moon, but at the same time, I understand my role on this team. And I understand that me being great in the things that I do and being good in my role allows for other people to be great in their role. There's no just one player that gets to take every piece of the pie. There's certain pieces that you have to fit into that allows everybody else to be great into their piece, which allows for a masterful piece, right? And, and that's what creates a team. And I think some guys get confused where they're like, well, this person gets all the glory and da-da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, the only thing that should matter is winning. And, I've heard numerous stories of people that have championships, and they say that it's the greatest feeling. And I think every present NBA player is fighting for that feeling, to feel what it's like to be on top of the world for that year and to be called a champ for the rest of your life.
Yeah, there are a lot of great players, some iconic players who never won a championship, and I'm pretty sure they'd give that up for the role of just winning a championship once or twice or whatnot. You see some guys that play that key role and maybe not weren't stars that won championships, and they still have that glory right there. And you got a guy, and Doc Rivers, I'm gonna get back to you in a second, but Doc Rivers, who won a championship in Boston. Well, what is he telling you about this run and the importance of this? And sometimes, can you actually understand what he's saying? You want to throw a cough drop in Doc's mouth sometime because of the horse. I used to cover Doc when he was with the Clippers, and I was on travel with the team for 3 years. And it's just that hoarse voice that's constant all the time. Do you like want to give him something to kind of like make his throat like a little like wet a little bit so it doesn't sound so hoarse?
That's Doc, and that's how I've always known Doc. I was a kid growing up admiring him, as a coach. So this is like a dream come true to be able to, play under him. But I think the biggest thing that he's preached for us on this championship run is to believe. You have to believe that you are that. You have to believe that you are going to be the last team standing, and you have to work like that. And, I think Doc has had to work his whole career. So how coaching and playing. So I think, the words that he's preaching to us are instilling that confidence in us and teaching us, over the course. It's not going to be, a grand slam home run. This is every day of slowly building up to get to that point, to be ready to compete, for a championship. And I think we use the season as that to continue to build. And you realize that, those close games that you're playing in during the regular season, they matter because having those good habits, having those championship habits, those winning habits on and off the floor that help you win those close games are the same habits that help you win in the playoffs.
And I also know you have an invaluable asset as an assistant coach in Sam Cassell. I love me some Sam Cassell. That's a great guy, man. I know he works with the guards a lot. But I want to talk more about you. The minivan. Like when I think of nicknames, I bang bang Niang like that. Don't get me wrong, but where did the minivan come from?
I would say it's maybe like self-proclaimed. When I was in Utah, I wasn't in the rotation, but they subbed me in against the Brooklyn Nets, and I had an opportunity to go up and dunk it, and it didn't really look that pretty. So when I got to the locker room, Joe Ingles was like, "Man, like what the heck?" Donovan Mitchell, like I was like, "What the heck was that?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like, I know I'm not a Ferrari like the rest of you guys. I'm more like a minivan. I need a couple laps around the block before I get to full speed. And then our sideline reporter was like, this is when people are allowed in the locker room. And she was like, "Oh, minivan, I like that." And then they kind of ran on with it. And then we kind of did this joke with the team where it's like, it's kind of like my logo now. It's me with my head out of a minivan, waving at people. So it's been a joke for a while, but it's kind of stuck with me.
A minivan is safe, man. It's got that sliding door. It's good for kids,
Yeah, it's seriously, it's you get from point A to point B. It's safe, and guess what? The number one thing, what George Niang is, reliable. I'll show up, and I'll do my thing. Efficient and reliable.
I like that. Are you still single, George?
Yes, I am.
This is that kind of interview, man. I don't know. We can cut it if we have to or whatever. They're talking.
No, I'm single. Yeah.
So you're a good looking dude, man. Like, just, very secure in who I am or whatever. So like, what's it like being, on this team? You got a lot of exposure, going on the road, hanging out, different cities or whatever. What's that process like for you?
The biggest thing for me is, during the season, I like to be dialed in and focused. And obviously there's time to have your fun. And I definitely do like to enjoy myself. But at the same time, you don't want to juggle too much at one time during an NBA season, because that's how you end up having a season where you have the highest of highs and then the lowest of lows. So if you can kind of be neutral. With that being said, when I was younger in my career, distractions were something that, I could see my game kind of, tail off when you're letting those things get the best of you. And I've been in the league 7 years now. So the temptation of all that is, kind of in the rearview mirror. I mean, obviously, like I said, everybody likes to have a good time, but at the same time, you know, like my mom always said, you do have to grow up, George. So, you know, like I said, there is temptation, but I think it's our job. And I think a lot of us know how we play and are affected, whether if it's by women, partying, you know, staying up late, not having a good routine. And I've learned my lesson with all of those things. So I think the biggest thing for me is I'm dialed in, whether if it's on the road. And in Philadelphia, I have a nice big home that I can spend quality time and get some good sleep in.
Yeah, some good quality sleep. Like your mom said, man, keep it in the rear view mirror of the minivan. There you go, man. Like that. And when you go on a date though, do you pick them up in the minivan or do you drive something else? I mean, that would be really fun. I think you should do that if you go on a date.
No, you didn't know what I do. I show up in a horse and like buggy or like a carriage and pick them up. It's like we got horses that bring us around the city, you know, real romantic guy. So, you know, ladies, you know, real romantic man right here.
There you go, man. The Renaissance man right there. All right, I'm gonna play a game with you, man. I'm gonna stay with the theme of the minivan, the automobile theme. I'm gonna name one of your teammates, and what would be their automobile-related nickname? And you tell me why. All right. So you're the minivan. What would Joel Embiid be?
Oh, he would have to be, I would say, what would be like a stylish, like big, like truck, like something that's so big but is smooth and is enough to like maneuver around. I would have to say I'm not good with cars, but I would maybe a Dodge Ram, like those are sleek and
I think like a Range Rover, still stylish, but at the same time gets the job done. Got a lot of horsepower.
There we go. There we go.
Good. You know, it's top notch, top quality. I like the nice top of the line Range Rover right there. I'm gonna give you one more. James Harden.
He's definitely a Rolls Royce.
Oh, the Rolls Royce. Okay.
Yeah. Smooth, very stylish. There's a lot of smoothness, you know, to the car, to his game, for sure.
Who's the smoothest guy on your team? Like not off the court, not just on the court. I want to go off the court. Who's the smoothest guy on your team? The guy that everybody gives a little crap to.
Off the court or on the court?
Off the court.
I would say like smoothest as in like dressing. I would have to say probably PJ Tucker.
Oh, really? What makes him so smooth?
I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard about the amount of shoes that he has, but he has like a whole house that's like full of shoes. The locker room's full of PJ's shoes.
Oh wow.
He's got some swag to him.
Yeah, I mean, you would think with a name like PJ, maybe he could start a pajama line or something like that, not the shoes. But I like that. Okay, the shoes, I like that. PJs, that's cool. What about you? What's your guilty pleasure? What is your, you know, besides, you know, being focused, locked in, being reliable? What is George Niang's guilty pleasure?
I love to golf, so it's tough in Philadelphia in the winter because you know
that ain't a guilty pleasure, man. That's like what everybody does. Tim, come on, man. We're gonna keep it real. 1,000, man. Light skin and light skin. Come on, bro. What is George Niang's
guilty pleasure? I mean, I like to try out new restaurants. I mean, people think that like I should have like this quirky thing, but like the only quirky thing I really is I like watching like something that's seamless and like I can ease my mind. Is I love like watching like war documentaries or like crime shows or Narcos, where it's just like I don't have to think. I can just watch and just enjoy what's going on. I live such a simplistic life because honestly, if I lived a crazy life, I'd be all over the place and not successful. So I'm like super simple. It's almost like people think that I'm not going to be boring, but I've gotten into podcasting. I love to get to know other people. I love to have conversations. You could say that's my guilty pleasure. I mean, I don't know. I'm a real simplistic dude, to be honest with you.
Okay, so is there anything you want to know about me? I mean, your podcast, you like you know. I mean, I'm very simplistic guy, but I'm pretty sure, you know.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I mean, I think I'd like to know what is your guilty pleasure, and what are things that you like to do or you like to do when you're on the road traveling with the Clippers?
When I was on the road, when I was single.
Here we go.
You
Now
really
we're
want
on
to
another
know?
can of worms, huh? You don't like when the flames on your feet now, huh?
Hey, I like it. Hey, I don't mind. I wrote a whole book called Open Mic, bro. So I'm very open. Yeah, I partake in a lot of things that probably got me in a lot of trouble back in the day. But you know, my guilty pleasures were, believe it or not, what's crazy is I was actually into reality shows, ratchet reality shows, until I actually had to do a reality show.
They ain't really reality.
It ain't really reality. It ain't really what you think is real. It ain't really reality. It's a lot of scripted drama. That's pretty much what it is. So I was into that. But now I'm like, I guess I'm like you, George. I'm kind of like, just want to stay at home and just be, you know, live a nice little boring life. But you're not boring. You're not boring. You're still young. You still got a lot of there, my brother.
For sure. But I think people have to understand is like from the outside looking in, you're like, you have all this money, you have all this access to so many people, and like you should be doing things. And yes, when I first had access to all this, I was doing all the things. And then you realize is that when you trying to do all these things, you're trying to be something that you're not. And you end up chasing your tail and exhausting yourself trying to be something you're not. And you're like, why don't I just be me? Because that's what I'm best at. And you end up falling into like appreciating some of the most simple things ever. Like after a game, I cannot tell you how excited I am to just come back from 18,000 person arena to just sitting at home with me and my buddies conversating and just having it like calm.
So what are those conversations like? When you come home, what kind of conversations do you have? Do you talk about basketball? Do you talk about life? What do you talk about? Politics?
Oh, I mean, I'm a basketball like fanatic. Like whether it's girls basketball or, you know, college basketball or the other NBA or overseas that my friends playing overseas, it's just, I'm constantly watching it. It's just something that I've always loved. And, you know, I'm addicted. I mean, so I really enjoy just having open conversations pretty much about anything, whether it's life, drama in other people's life, because I try to keep drama out of mine.
Never
No.
marry a reality show star. If you want to do that.
Did you make that mistake?
I wouldn't call it a mistake. I call it a life lesson that I'll never make again. That I learned from. It's a life lesson, but no, it's cool. We're still cool. Let me stop because that's going to go viral. Let me stop.
That's good. Yeah.
Final question before I let you go, man. All right, so you love basketball. You still got a long NBA career left. You should play as long as you want to. But if you weren't playing basketball, what would George Niang be doing? And what do you see life after basketball being like?
You know, I've been lucky enough to have family members that are successful in other professions. My uncle's been pretty successful in real estate, which I've gotten into with the financial freedom that I've been, you know, given by playing basketball. So that's something that after basketball, I definitely would want to pursue and continue to be involved in. Not the everyday realtor, but, you know, investing in real estate in different, you know, buildings and, you know, companies. So that's definitely something that, you know, I'm interested in. At the end of the day, if I didn't play basketball, you know, I'm always talking, laughing. So I would wonder if, you know, maybe acting would be something that, you know, I would be into. I would say a musician, but my mom like pleads with me to not sing. Like I'll be singing in the car and she'll stop the car and be like, will you please just shut up? So
yeah, the moms always, you know, but sometimes, you know, they may not be able to appreciate the newer music. You know, maybe she was into Smokey or Marvin Gaye or maybe Prince back in the day or Michael Jackson. The OJs. It's something new, man. We believe in you around here, man, at the Players Platform, man. So we need you right now to show off your skills, George. Just a couple of bars, just a couple of notes, anything you want to sing right now.
Arms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on the sweater already. Mom, spaghetti. Okay.
Yeah, well, maybe mom is right. I'm just saying.
Dang, Mike, so, you just walk me down and shoot me over, huh?
No, but it was like that was Eminem from back in the day, man. I'm like, okay, it was like that was cool though. I'm like, mom, that was good. I like that. I enjoyed it. I thought maybe it was gonna be like a little sultry, you know what I'm saying? It's cool. No,
they know. I know you say I'm light skinned, but that lover boy stuff. Come on now.
All right, no, so no Drake there. I got you, my man. Good stuff, bro. George, hey man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. I really appreciate you. Good luck the rest of the season. Definitely rooting for you guys. Like I said, Doc and Sam, my boys, man. And I really feel like this is your year, man.
I appreciate it. We're gonna make it happen.
All right, my brother. We'll talk soon.